Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And it's Friday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for us to preview this weekend in wrestling. It's going to be a very, very fun show. Of course, CM Punk is returning to SmackDown tonight, so we're certainly going to be touching upon that. But before we do, let me introduce the panel, and let's start with the co-host of the show, Clark. Clark, how are you today?
What's going on, Ben? I am double stoked to be here because, little known fact to the audience, we actually got to hear the intro twice today. Happy Friday, everybody. That song never gets old. I love it. I'm stoked to get into the SmackDown preview. I'm stoked to talk some wrestling as usual. Let's get into it.
I mean, usually when, we're a couple of minutes late, it's because either me or Clark have, gone live, pressed the intro video, but not pressed go live. It's a very easy mistake to make. But today, it wasn't even our fault. I pressed the button, did nothing. Just said an error occurred. But we're live now, we're all good. Hopefully you can all see us. But also joining us, we have the man who created the theme song that you guys all heard and I got to hear twice. Chaos, how are you today?
What's good, everybody? Happy Friday. It's been a few days since I've been here. I've been having a little bit of a bit of alone time to myself, and let me just come back and land back here with y'all in the Ticket to the Table universe and talk some wrestling for you guys. And I'm looking forward to it. And the song is awesome, by the way.
And also, I was wondering why there's been a few situations where things have gotten a little heated the last few days, Chaos. And every time I've shouted, Chaos, get the tables! And I've heard nothing back, so that must be why then. But last but certainly not least is the AEW reviewer here at Wrestling Republic, David Sheldon. David, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm in a good mood today because I finished university for Christmas. So today was my last day. So I am very happy, and I'm hopefully going to have... I've still got essays to write. I've got to try and pass my course, of course. But it'll be fun. I also spent the afternoon in an interview with Ryan Gosling and America Ferrara talking about Barbie, which was the joys of London, literally 2 minutes from my flat. Was Ryan Gosling, and it was supposed to be Margot Robbie, but she unfortunately had to pull out. But that was a wonderful afternoon. Excited to talk wrestling. We've got two very interesting shows this weekend. I'm sure there are more elsewhere. We've also got Deadline as well, NXT. So, it's gonna be quite a lot of great, interesting wrestling this week. So excited. Let's get straight to it.
Margot Robbie was with me.
Pardon?
Margot Robbie was with me. That's why she wasn't here.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. It makes sense as well why Chaos wasn't on the show.
Yeah, I was just about to make the Kennedy that I'm full of Kennedy today. But I'll leave you. I'll leave you.
References
I'll leave you to that, Chaos.
But absolutely. Like you mentioned, David, NXT Deadline this weekend. We're not going to touch on that today because, of course, the Off the Air crew will be going live tomorrow night to review the show.
All over it tomorrow. That's why we won't be touching on it today, guys.
Yep. These references today. But anyway, let's jump right in to CM Punk, because CM Punk is coming to SmackDown, and he is coming to SmackDown tonight. And this is a sight which I don't think anybody thought that they'd see again. But yes, the blue brand CM Punk will be returning to tonight. Now, I've already spoken so much in the past about how I used to love as a child watching SmackDown every Friday. Or maybe it was Thursday back then, I can't even quite remember. But I believe it was Friday. I think it was just before then it moved back to Thursdays. But I used to love it every week, and I used to love watching the likes of Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Batista, and CM Punk. I remember that Straight Edge Society feud, Rey Mysterio, hair versus mask, and I remember being just so, invested into it as a child. It really hooked my interest into professional wrestling. Well, today, I guess will be a bit of a nostalgia for me because CM Punk will be back on the blue brand, but the question is, why, oh, why is he there? Is he going to be joining Randy Orton over on SmackDown, or is this just a one-off appearance and he'll be heading over to Monday Night Raw permanently? Clark, give me your thoughts.
I thought it was Veer that was coming this time, but it is CM Punk, so I'm a little bit more excited about CM Punk's appearance than anything else. I mean, I really hope that he signs with Raw. I don't think it makes any sense for CM Punk to end up on SmackDown.
None.
I love the one-off appearance for nostalgia's sake, and so I'm hoping that he does something fun. It'd be kind of funky, I guess. Maybe he hits a GTS on Adam Pierce, not Adam Pierce, on Nick Aldis. Sorry, woof, that was bad. On Aldis, just to, everyone keeps just absolutely trying to bring the GM that we all know can still wrestle out of the suit and into the tights. That might make a little bit of sense along the way, even if he does sign with Raw, but that's about the only thing I can think of here outside of just getting to see CM Punk on SmackDown for the first time in so long. It's creepy.
I mean, Nick Aldis has been in this job for like a month, and we're already pitching for him to just get beat up each and every single week. Make him the jobber, and then have him job to Adam Pearce at WrestleMania. That's what I want to see.
Let him wrestle. I want them to bring him out of the suit. I want him to put the tights on and go, no. You guys must not realize when I got this job who I actually am and what I can actually do too. And then you add that to the SmackDown roster in the way that you add Punk to the Raw roster, and all our problems are solved.
Randy Orton, Nick Aldis at WrestleMania. Nick Aldis, Randy Orton, WrestleMania. I could see that happening. I definitely could.
Delightful.
I'm presuming Randy will lose to Reigns at the Rumble, and then I'm presuming we're getting Cody Reigns at Mania because Cody's on SmackDown today for some weird reason. But on the topic of Punk, sticking on that topic, Chaos, of course, you're a big CM Punk guy. You always have been. I presume you always will be. But what do you think about him appearing on SmackDown tonight? Why on earth do you think that he is showing up there?
It could either be out of two things. I think one is definitely him choosing where to sign. And it's most likely going to be Raw. I mean, it's only fair. Randy Orton goes to SmackDown, Punk goes to Raw. It's just, two of the biggest stars and two of the biggest returns going on the separate brands. It could be that could also factor into it. If not, it might be just another random mediocre promo that he might do, and then who knows, he might, if he did have a confrontation with someone, it will most likely be something between Theory and Waller. They're the two best goobers right now to definitely get a GTS off from Punk, and that will definitely pop the crowd. I don't think there's going to be anything with the bloodline. They're already busy. Excuse me. It's most likely going to be the contract signing, or it's just just to hype up the crowd, and then someone's going to eat a GTS, and those two are probably the best ones. Now that Owens is not going to be, he's not on SmackDown. He's written off. So why not something like that? So either way, I'm stoked to see it. I think I'll be fine with him opening up SmackDown and get that over and done with, and see where this goes, because they need to make his appearance worth something. Done some random filler. So
I have a feeling they're gonna do Raw all over again, where they keep us waiting throughout the entire show and then bring him out for 5 minutes at the end for him to say absolutely nothing of substance, and for MJF's promo to actually be correct from a couple of years ago. And we got Soul in the comment. We got Soul in the comments saying, "Does Chaos get double royalties for his intro being played twice?" I mean, the first one wasn't on there, so.
Not what? Always screwing over the little man. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Yep. But last but not least, of course, David, we all know, right? We all know that you are a huge CM Punk fan. We know you have his posters on your wall. We know that, underneath that hoodie, you're actually wearing a CM Punk t-shirt. You love him, don't you? So how much are you excited for today?
I would have been more excited if Via was on the show. Thanks, Clark. You teased me with that. Then I love Via. I love Via. I really think they should be using Via better than they are. Anyway, sorry. Back to Punk.
Send Via.
Back to Punk. Yeah, I agree with Chaos. I don't see him doing much of anything on this show. I do think he'll open. Here's what I think they'll probably do. It's Tribute to the Troops this week, so I suspect that he'll probably come out to start the show because they've announced that it's the Usos against Orton and LA Knight, I think, tonight. So
have they? Wow.
Not the Usos. Sorry, Jimmy and Solo. At least that's what I heard anyway. So if that's what they're doing, I could see. I could be wrong on that, by the way. I think I saw it on social media. But if that is the case, I think that's enough of a hook to main the show. So I think get Punk out there. I think it'll be Punk and Pierce. No, Punk and Aldis. Sorry. Aldis will come out and make a pitch to Punk and say, "I want to sign you," and Punk will say, "I'll tell you on Monday," and that'll be about the last we hear of that. Then I think they'll do a couple of segments with Punk through the show, like backstage things. They'll probably do another thing with Aldis. I think they're going to do Punk and Heyman because I think they'd be foolish not to do something with Punk and Heyman backstage, and maybe Punk and LA Knight. They'd be my three things. Those three, nothing of substance, nothing major, just little seeds of here's something. Because like the problem I had with him on his debut promo on Raw, which I actually thought was fine. I thought the promo was absolutely fine. The one he cut on Raw, I don't really know what people were expecting him to say that he could actually legally say. It was disappointing, but it wasn't like I thought the promo was fine. But what was disappointing was that he didn't feel like integrated. He kind of just felt like he was thrown in at the last minute. They've got time now to really use him through the show. And you don't have to do anything that interesting with him in the show. But all you've got to do is just little... It's like when we started the Bray Wyatt and LA Knight feud. The very first promo that Bray Wyatt cut on LA Knight was backstage on SmackDown. They said nothing. Was like... They did say, but like they said nothing of substance, really. Just, give into your darkness. Ooh. But just seeing those two on screen was enough to get people talking. And I think someone like Punk and LA Knight, even if it takes you forever to pay it off, just do that little backstage thing of those two. Punk and Heyman feels obvious. And then you've got the contract signing stuff going on as well. I think there's potential for some fun stuff tonight. Just don't expect to see him doing anything major because there's more than enough on this show to with the tournament matches as well to
You're right, yeah.
counteract it.
And you are completely right. Orton and LA Knight, as of 2 hours ago, are teaming up to take on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, right? And I always do I don't want to say scripts of the podcast, but the plan for the podcast and the schedule out for the podcast a few hours before the show, so, people have time to prepare. And every single Friday, without fail, tons of wrestling companies just announced tons in that time frame. Impact, TNA announced that they're joining Endeavor's, them and Endeavor are teaming up for their new streaming service. And we've also found out Cody Rhodes is on SmackDown, as previously said, and Orton and LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. Whew, stacked Friday. But now let's move on to something else, which is going to be stacked this Friday night, and that is a match which, it's a match which I think all of us are fairly excited about, because why wouldn't we be? And that is Asuka, the new member of Damage Control, going up against Charlotte Flair. And each and every time these two women step in the ring with each other, it is chef's kiss. It is absolutely brilliant. And I think this match tonight is going to be no different. I'm really excited for it. But hey, they need to make sure they're continuing this story, because let's be real, Charlotte feuding with Damage Control, it ain't anything new. Clark, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's the new member, so I don't want to sound condescending at all when I say this, but logically speaking, Asuka Charlotte is a headlining match, of course. Like any time they step in the ring together, it's a huge deal, title or not. It just is, given their history. I don't know how you advance the story without Asuka winning this match, whether it's shenanigans or not. But to your point, Charlotte's feuded with Damage Control. Charlotte's not feuding with Bayley. Charlotte's not feuding with Io Sky. The match with Asuka, logically, Asuka's got to go over somehow, and then there's got to be some kind of shenanigan or some kind of something to add to this story, because there just isn't a heck of a lot of story when it comes to this match outside of the history between Charlotte and Asuka, which I have no problem with, but we're not going to see a 25-minute classic out of Charlotte and Asuka, likely in the middle of this card on SmackDown on a Friday night.
Event.
Maybe the main event, maybe, but likely either in the first hour or maybe to kick off the second hour. But that's I don't. That's my only complaint about it, because I'm a huge Charlotte Flair and Asuka fan. They're awesome, but the link to the story involves everybody else involved in the story, not these two. So it does seem a bit.
True.
You know, we've levied complaints like this about AEW of late. This is one that I don't mind it, because it is Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Who am I to complain about Asuka and Charlotte Flair one-on-one in the middle of the ring? But give me the why. Hopefully during the match is I guess what I would be asking for the most, if that makes sense, Ben.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, to be honest with you. They've not given us a huge why. They obviously have history, but they obviously, it kind of feels like the least important match these two women have had, because it's crazy, because on any other show, you'd say, with just a little bit of a sprinkle of some story, this could main event SmackDown.
Logical main event. Easy one.
On this supercard, a tribute to the troops show today. I mean, it's an absolute stacked episode. I'm getting hyped just talking about it, to be honest. But now let's, well, I'm gonna be honest, Clark, though, right, about this one. How would you advance this storyline with Damage Control? How you always complain about them? How would you get them to hook you in about it?
I think at this point we really need to lean into the Bayley thing, and what I would like to see are scenarios where either we get a hint at Bayley turning babyface and starting to disagree with Damage Control in certain ways in their actions, or we've seen enough of the other way around, I guess, is my biggest issue. We've seen enough of now, like, Bayley kind of just being left out. Let's have Bayley have a confidence boost and start to kind of do some stuff on her own, or disagree with some things, or go like, that's not right, and take actual action. And putting Charlotte Flair in a match with Asuka doesn't leave us that opportunity. And that's where this story lies, is in Bayley's relationship with the group in and of itself, that is now just expanded by 2.
Yeah.
Right?
It's fun, but I get what you're saying, Clark. I do. So, I mean, what you're saying is you don't want to see Bayley accidentally cost Asuka tonight. You don't want to see that again.
No.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, that's pretty much what we saw last week. But now let's move on, and let's talk about something else which was announced for this week, last week, and that was the United States tournament. The United States #1 contenders tournament to find a new opponent for Logan Paul's United States Championship, presumably at the Royal Rumble. Now, of course, there's 2 months. We spoke about this on last week's show as well. There's 2 months until the Rumble. They need to fill time between now and then. And this tournament, well, it's a great way to do it. But tonight, let's kick things off by talking about Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar. Of course, these two men, there is a story between them. Dragon Lee, of course, isn't happy with Santos Escobar turning on Rey Mysterio, somebody who Dragon Lee, sees as, I guess, a bit of a mentor or an inspiration, an idol, if you'd like. And Dragon Lee wants to get revenge on Escobar, just like he wants to get revenge on Dominic Mysterio on NXT for the exact same reason. But tonight, Chaos, do you see Dragon Lee or Escobar advancing in this tournament?
So this match is a very intriguing one, to the point where it could go either way, but at the same time, it's gonna be hard to for one person to lose and for them not to really be hurt by it, because they're both on like a good ascension right now. Dragon Lee has lost a couple matches so far on SmackDown. He's already lost to Escobar on pay-per-view. I'm sorry, premium live event. And or was that on Pep? Was oh no, it was on SmackDown, wasn't it? Yeah, my bad. It was on SmackDown.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting my dates mixed up. Anyway,
so am I. There's too much wrestling.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of just like he definitely lost somewhere. I can't remember when, but yeah. Either way, both of them can't really afford to take a loss right now because Dragon Lee is meant to be, you know, he's getting this red hot push. He's jumbling both NXT and the SmackDown. But Escobar just turned heel. He's meant to be, you know, this crazy unhinged guy. And you know, it'll be for him to take a loss in such a quite a big tournament right now. Is I don't know. I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be very helpful to him. So me, I think I if we really had to do it, I'd say Dragon Lee has to be the one that goes further, and then Escobar completely just obliterates Dragon Lee. Maybe finally bringing this you know, some new a new faction, if you will, like some of his new cronies to further bolster up his, you know, his stronghold and his hatred against Rey Mysterio. And then when Rey Mysterio comes back, then that's when you can bring back Carlito and the other two guys. I forgot their names, and Selena Vega, and then it'd be, you know, his clan versus their clan or faction, if you will. Yeah, either way, I love their match. That's the one. Yep. Apologies. Not very memorable. But yeah, like their first match was great. I absolutely loved it. The chemistry is amazing. I feel that they can keep on doing. It'll be almost like an Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio-esque type of feel. So either way, I'm going to enjoy it. But if I had to really pick someone, I feel like Dragon Lee should be the one that should go a bit further in this.
And do you reckon he'll go all the way to face Logan Paul, Dragon Lee?
That I don't know. Right now, that's more angling me. If I really have to pick right now, I think that's angling to be Kevin Owens to be facing Logan Paul. I'm choosing to face Logan Paul. You'll get close, but yeah, no, Kevin Owens to face Logan Paul.
He'll fight through that injury, shock us all, go on to face Logan Paul, and then lose because of that injury, and then we'll all realize that we've been worked. I can see that happening. I definitely, certainly can. But now let's talk about the other match in this tournament that we are seeing tonight. I agree with you, by the way, Chaos. I do think that Dragon Lee will be advancing. And I don't mind your call, actually, that, you know, Escobar, you know, maybe takes him out post-match and then an injured Escobar loses next week or something like that. But, David, there's another match which is taking place in this tournament tonight, and it is Karrion Kross versus Bobby Lashley. Karrion Kross, we've seen next to nothing about lately. We've been given next to no reason to care about him. Every feud of any substance he's been in, he has lost. So why should we care? I don't know. Whereas with Bobby Lashley, we need a reason to care because we need to see, you know, fire lit under this new Hurt Business, Wall Street Profits, whatever you want to call them. But David, who's walking, you know, to the next round?
It's Bobby Lashley, isn't it? It is Bobby Lashley. This is an odd match to book. Now, I should preface it by saying I really like Karrion Kross as an on-screen personality. I always have, and I love, you know, I love a spooky character. I love that kind of presentation. And I think presented well, Kross is great. Problem is he's not been. He has lost every feud of any substance he's been in, then he's disappeared. It's been very weird. I don't think it's a bad idea to put him in a tournament, because I think a tournament's always a decent way to restart somebody's momentum if you want to give it a story. I just wouldn't put him against Bobby Lashley. Because it's a very weird heel versus heel kind of Hoss versus Hoss match that Cross isn't very good at. Cross works better against a smaller guy he can lug around the ring. So I would actually have, I mean, I'd have put him against one of the faces, but what face I don't know, because there aren't as many of faces as there are heels in this. So yeah, it's a weird one. Lashley is winning, of course he is. But I just, yeah, I don't really get this. I like Lashley a lot. I like Cross a lot. I wouldn't pair them, and I feel like we could be in for a slightly clunky ride.
Oh, now you're saying that, it does sound like two guys. You might just, they might not add into an equal number or something like that.
Yeah,
Let's just
the
say
best
that
thing
much.
Karrion Kross has done on the main roster is probably his match with Ray. Because it was a big guy, small guy match again. He's very good at those. I like people say Karrion Kross is really boring, and I don't agree. I actually think he is quite interesting in the right presentation with the right people. But the Drew feud did nothing for him because it was two big hunks of meat slamming into each other. I don't think this will either. He doesn't work very well when he's put against a massive lad who they just run into each other, because a lot of his best offense works on him being a bully. And when he's not able to bully anybody, which he won't be able to with Lashley, then like that would work if it was a monster face and Cross had been built to the point where it was like, oh, his usual tactic is to bully his opponents, but he can't do that against a big guy, But because Cross has lost every feud he's been in, it just doesn't work. So it's like if we went into this tournament like with vignettes from Cross saying this is my chance to get back in, and then he proved it, great. But like the problem we've got is it is just, oh, it's Karrion Kross is back. Oh, hello. I'm coming back to lose now so I can disappear again. And that's a shame. I hope they do something with him. I do hope they do something with him, but it's just, it's not working, unfortunately.
I agree with you that I don't personally find him super boring. I found his booking boring, but him as, character I think is quite interesting, right? On NXT, some of his matches I wasn't the biggest fan of, to be honest, but the storylines I really, really liked. Yeah. But here's the thing.
Right, one.
Every time on the main roster he's had a story. I remember the Ray one. I completely forgot about it until you brought it up, but I remember it earlier this year and I was saying this is the feud which this could make Karrion Kross into a star, because Rey Mysterio works well with big guys, Karrion Kross works well with smaller guys, so this is a match made in heaven, and the feud was started perfectly, and then it just ended a bit mediocre, a bit boring, if you'd like.
Yeah, it just stopped because Ray won, and then they kind of like, oh, well, that's enough of that then, and we'll move on. It's just, the thing with Kross is that I don't think Kross necessarily worked all that well in NXT because he was a bit out of place in that very high work rate, very indie-rific. I hate a horrible word, hate that word, but that's the best way I can describe it.
Shout out Cardi.
That very high work rate NXT, which I loved, and I enjoy Kross as a different presentation in that roster. But I've always, whenever I've ever done fantasy bookings of Karrion Kross, I've always booked him as a bully that slowly wrings every last bit of paranoia out to their opponents with the TikTok, your time's running out, and at a certain point I will break you. It's just not coming yet. But it's literally closing a gap until bang. And it just keeps it going for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. The problem you've got with Kross is that he shows up, does one vignette on somebody, shows a tarot card and loses. It's like the tarot card. The tarot cards, I always love. The tarot card should be a fearful thing. It should be, oh, you've drawn my card. If I was a wrestler and Karrion Kross drew my tarot card, I'd be over the moon. It would give me an easy win. Because it's like, oh, who am I going to lose to next? Let's consult the cards. It's just like, Kross should be better than this. He was brought in with such hype, and then he had a middling feud with Drew, and it was like, right, down the card you go, sir. And that's the last we've seen. Real shame.
Well,
thanks. Big facts.
Karrion Kross or Akira Tozawa, take your pick. I think, to be honest with you, Akira Tozawa's got more of a chance of winning at the minute because at least he's over.
Yeah,
but
something.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to say. But anyway, actually, I'll stick with you, David. Let's go to the Continental Classic, right? Yes. Because as always, Continental Classic, it's a bit of a complicated one to talk about on this podcast because there's so many moving elements, right? And if you remember, a few weeks ago, I brought up that, hang on a second, Danielson isn't wrestling this week in the Continental Classic, which means that he's going to have to work twice one week And I'm a bit confused because I didn't realize it was this week until today, because tonight he is facing Daniel Garcia in the tournament, and then tomorrow night he is facing Andrade El Idolo in the tournament. So we got 2 Bryan Danielson matches in 24 hours. I'm not going to complain, but I mean, I guess, I don't know, I guess from a storyline perspective, I would have built that up a bit more. I would have made a bigger deal out of that on Dynamite. But oh well, let's look at the league standings, because currently in the Blue League, which is what, Bryan Danielson's in, and that's basically the Collision League, we have Brody King, the top of the standings with 6 points, while Andrade El Idolo has 3, Bryan Danielson has 3, and then Claudio Castagnoli has 3 as well. Both Bryan Danielson and Andrade going into this weekend are 1 match behind. Coming out of this weekend, Eddie Kingston, I believe Eddie Kingston won't be a match behind. Brody King will be a match behind as well. It's all getting a little confusing, but let's focus on what's easy. Danielson Garcia tonight, then tomorrow night in Collision, Danielson versus Andrade El Idolo, and Eddie Kingston versus Claudio Castagnoli. Tony Khan, take my money, or at least take my viewership, because I will be watching on Saturday night, because that is 2 great matches. But David, who are going to win these 3 great matches?
Well, so first thing to say is Danielson versus Garcia was announced on Dynamite. But you're right, it wasn't
clearly
given
was
hype.
stupid, yeah.
But it wasn't. I think it was announced twice on Dynamite, but it was announced very fleetingly, kind of just thrown on the graphic, and that was kind of it.
Okay.
And that's on the positive side to that match, to Danielson and Garcia, it's a match for Rampage. And last week I got so bored watching Rampage I nearly fell asleep. So if you can give me a reason to an actual something to excite me for Rampage tonight, I am most grateful, and I think that match will be excellent. Now, with the 2 matches for Collision. Now, Collision was pre-taped this week, so it was taped on, I believe, Tuesday. Yes. I'm not going to talk on Danielson and Andrade. I'm going to leave that to other panelists, because I do know what happened in that match, because it's spread around social media through fans, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who doesn't know. So I'm just going to leave that match and let the other 2 speak on that. Kingston and Claudio. I don't know what happened in any of the other things, by the way, just that, because it did unfortunately get spread by fans around on social media. Kingston and Claudio is great. I love the fact that this match is happening right now, because they've done a great job, I think, with Kingston of the losses. I watched the podcast, the Daily, last week, and I heard you guys talking about how, the multiple losses hurts the prestige of the championships, and I understand that. But I love the story that's being told with this, that Kingston has put his belts on the line and it's backfiring spectacularly, and he's like a runaway train he can't control. I think that's great. I do think he's going to beat Claudio, because I think they're going to start now this, can Kingston get his wins back to get into that, to get to the end of it. I think that's a great story. And I think this will be a terrific match that I do think Claudio's going to win. I've loved both of their encounters. I love their one at Grand Slam. I love their one in Ring of Honor. And Claudio's doing good things right now. He's kind of on the fringes. He's kind of just there right now doing good work. So I do think he is probably there to lose. And yeah, Danielson versus Garcia, that's a cracking match, because Garcia is kind of playing the underdog right now. He's playing that kind of scrappy-do kind of, I'll let you guys, you don't take me seriously, so I'll prove you wrong. He's lost both times, so it's not working. But although my only complaint with the Garcia story right now is the last match they had, they did a great job. They had Daddy Magic on commentary, and they did a great job. They did a great job building up the dance, which is where, and I spent the entire match going, oh, this is where the dance is going to cost him in the end, and this is where the dance is going to cost him in the end, and then it didn't. He just lost. Tremendous match against Andrade. Loved it. But that was a disappointment to me, because I felt like, oh, that's your story, is the dancing. So whether they play that up against Danielson, I don't know. Obviously, Danielson's got his eye injury as well. That could obviously play a factor. But I'm fascinated to see how this goes. And it's made me want to watch Rampage, because nothing else that's been booked for the show has. My man Orange Cassidy's on Rampage, and I'm still not all that excited. It's Cassidy and Angelico, which would be a great match, but it's just a match, isn't it? That's kind of the problem with Rampage. So Rampage, I always think, should have a match like this on the show. Just a reason to watch it. You can fill the rest of it with filler if you like, but give me one reason on an hour show to make me interested. And this is what it is this week. And yeah, I think Garcia's tremendous.
I mean, we've spoken at length. A lot of weeks I don't watch Rampage. Tonight I will be watching for this match. You're right. It's it's gotten me to tune in at the very, very least. But now let's move on, and let's move on to you, Chaos. Because what do you think? What are your predictions heading into these 3 matches? And please don't tell me you've seen the spoilers too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have. So, to be
let's
fair,
ignore those.
Yeah, and so to be fair, I haven't seen. I don't know the result, but I do know the aftermath. That's as far as I know.
Okay, me too. Actually,
yeah. So it's not too bad. So the matches are great. I'm hella looking forward to them. Especially Danielson versus Garcia. That is gonna be absolutely epic because you know me. I love me some Garcia, man. I love me some Garcia. So, in terms of Kingston and Claudio, I agree 100% of what David said in terms of that. Yeah, I do love the story that they're portraying. That he's the one that's no one told him to put all the titles on the line. He's doing this, and because he's got that champion that champion feeling of since I'm on top of the world, no one can touch me. I'm gonna have this long reign, come try to beat the champ. And like you say, it's been backfiring spectacularly. So, right now it is actually now or never. He's lost 2 matches. He has to win now. So, for him to actually lose again and, all of a sudden the titles are now up for grabs where it doesn't really mean as much, it's, I don't think it's damaging the reputation of the title as much because, this is something that is refreshing. And you don't really see this happen too often where the champion is on the back foot. And now he has to really push through. So in this way, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to that. I feel like Kingston's definitely going to get the W on this one. And then when it comes to Danielson and Andrade, I mean, yeah, he's obviously Danielson is obviously one of the top favorites on this. However, for the Danielson and Andrade match, I feel like Andrade might get the double on that. And then whatever happens on there. But yeah, against Danielson and Garcia, 100%. I feel like Danielson's gonna get a W on that one. And then obviously Andrade is gonna capitalize on his injuries and then obviously get the dub against Danielson. So 1-on-1 for Danielson, but Kingston definitely the dub. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. It's a stacked 2 nights of AEW wrestling, 100%. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I mean, and just wrestling as a whole. I mean, we've not had a weekend preview this stacked on a non-pay-per-view weekend, and I don't know how long. Like, realistically, this show could have gone an hour and a half. We could have done 2 shows based on the amount that there was, based on the amount that was announced for it. Absolutely. But, I mean, you mentioned Eddie Kingston. I agree as well. I do think Eddie Kingston will be getting the W because I do think he's having that comeback angle that David pointed to. But yeah, I if he wasn't champion, I'd love it. And even if it was like he was like just AEW champion, I think I'd like it, like a mid-card belt. But because he's like putting the New Japan Strong belt in and the Ring of Honor World title belt in, it just to me kind of makes those two just not look as strong. No pun intended. But what about you, Clark? How are you feeling heading into these 3 matches tonight? Do you reckon Danielson's picking up a full 6 points, or is he gonna have to share them?
I think Danielson definitely goes over tonight against Garcia. Unfortunately, I love Daniel Garcia, but I think that's kind of the scoop. Kingston and Castagnoli is interesting to me. That to me is a logical draw, but I want a draw. We haven't seen a draw yet in this tournament, and I want the first one to be the one that muddies the standings, because the way that this is going, right, 2 people get to leave each group, correct? Not just one.
So the two top people will face off against each other, advancing to the final.
I want it to really get testy here at some point. And now, obviously, the Blue League is a match behind the Gold League, correct?
Well, they're
Generally speaking, we've had
1-2 matches. 1-2
well,
matches,
we've had
depending on who.
we've had 2 matches competed by every competitor except for Bryan Danielson, to your point,
And
right?
Andrade.
In the Blue League, and Andrade as well. And then
Yeah.
in the Gold League, you've basically everybody's had 3. So
Everyone's had 3 in the gold.
I think draw time in the Gold League has to be coming up soon, because we're also looking at some marquee matchups there that are coming up, and not talk about the ones that are like right in front of us. The Blue League is a match behind, essentially, right? Match and a half, if you'd prefer, Ben. But
1.5 times. Do
Yeah.
some maths. Reset the calendar.
but I think the Blue League definitely needs some draws, and I wouldn't mind that being Castagnoli Kingston. I would not mind that being the first one that is, because that rivalry could easily be paid off in a singles match on a pay-per-view, because it kind of never has been. And it's been around the entire length of AEW. It's long-term storytelling. It is what it is. It'd be a logical match to have a draw in. Other than that, though, I'm excited. I mean, it's really good. This is now where it gets interesting doing the math. I'm like looking at the tables too, and you're starting to think, well, what if this happens here? What if this happens there? And I think this is the excitement that this format brings. And this is where it's going to get really, really fun, because trying to figure out who's going to be in the finals and when it's affected by somebody that's wrestling that's not necessarily involved. Somebody can play spoiler by pulling out a draw, by pulling out their first win in the tournament, right? Those are going to be fun and will add value to the table matches late too. And I'm excited to see what AEW has up their sleeve with this one.
I mean, I do agree with you on that. I mean, my biggest complaint about the Gold League, to be honest, is that, 2 people are now eliminated. It's like, I feel like it's kind of too early for 2 people to be flat out eliminated.
You do?
I said it. I think the time for a draw in the Gold League was on Wednesday. I think we should have had one of them. I think we should have had Swerve draw. And who else was it? Who was the other one? Moxley lose. That's what I would have done. And they didn't do it.
So, but what if Jay White beats Mark Briscoe, right?
Yeah, Jay White can still qualify, but
Then
both
it's
Jay
999.
Lethal
Then it's
and Briscoe
999,
are
right?
out. Well, if they both, I mean, if Danielson and Swerve both lose, then yeah, then it's 999.
So if Jay beats Mark Briscoe, it's 999 essentially, but then you have Moxley and Strickland. Moxley still has to wrestle Strickland and Jay. And then Strickland has to wrestle Roosh. So if Strickland draws with Roosh, that's 10-9-9, essentially, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Moxley then draws with Jay White. Now it's 10-10-10. And it comes down to
10-9. No, sorry, ignore me.
Yeah, then it comes down to Moxley and Swerve.
This is just overcomplicated.
It-
I do like it, but here's the thing, Clark, right? I don't think fans are gonna like draws. And I'm saying this. This entire tournament, we've been fantasy booking it. All of us, as you know, who've been on the shows predicting them, all of us have said do a draw here, do a draw there. But social media does not want draws. They do not want. A lot of fans do
Which is
not
fine,
want draws.
but there
So
is a scenario
I
at
think
hand.
you have one draw that you can do in this tournament and get away with.
There's
I
a
think that's the
scenario at
max.
hand in the Gold League where you have one of the 3 that is really still available to win it, as you mentioned, who were eliminated. One of the 3 separates and the other 2 tie. And now you have a bonus match out of it, and you have a story to be told.
Well, there's no
between
time
Jay
on the
White,
schedule.
Strickland, and Moxley. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe a triple
Yeah,
threat.
unfortunately, there's not.
You do something
Unless
about
they
it.
create maybe they
Tell
bring
a
back
story,
AEW
Ben.
Dark.
Stop being such a curmudgeon. Tell a story.
Bring
It's
back
doable.
AEW. Hashtag bring back
They've got it. It's
AEW
Ring of
Dark.
Honor.
Oh, sorry. Put it on Ring of Honor then. I mean, they chuck in tons of random stuff on Ring of Honor anyway. I actually watched it this week, and I thought none of this relates to anything they're doing with the titles in Ring of Honor, so why should I care? Other than the TV title tournament, I guess.
We won't go into that now. We'll debate that off camera.
Wrestling, we love it and we hate it, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you're on Spotify, please leave us a cheeky 5 stars if you would be so kind. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and of course on Twitch, give us a follow. We will be back tomorrow to give our thoughts on this SmackDown Super Show, and who knows, maybe Danielson versus Garcia as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Clark, thank you, Chaos, and thank you, David. Peace. We'll see you